Hello. Hello, and welcome to Cut to the Jaguares. They're too good. And yes, it's Has Rugby Chat, episode 90. 90. That's quite a few I've done now, isn't it?
There's quite a few you've done now.
Yeah, that's nearly as many as I did as Twitter chats. I did 100 of those.
That's a lot you did as Twitter chats.
It was because every single week. So that was like nearly 2 years of doing it. Anyway, we digress before we even started. Hi, yes. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place rate predictions and opinion. And as you can see, I'm on Arswin's couch here, even though we have some lighting issues. We're going to try and sort that out next time, not tomorrow night when I'll be here again over on the All Blacks edition channel. But after that, I've got some lighting thingy-majigs, i.e. lights. That's Arswin. How you doing, sir?
Hi, I'll smile so you can see me.
Oh, dearie me.
I've just been watching Samoa beat Wales in the 1991 World Cup until he told me off.
Amateurs. I'm working with a bunch of amateurs, I can tell you. Hopefully there won't be too much conversation about what time you have to leave to get through the Auckland Tunnel in time. But how are you doing, Pierre?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And I would say from where you live, you wouldn't go through the tunnel anyway, would you? Let's be honest.
No, we go north.
Exactly.
So there are more tunnels, Paul, north of Auckland.
North of Auckland Tunnel.
Really?
North of Auckland Tunnel. Yes.
Oh,
two of them.
Okay.
Johnson's Hill.
Wow.
Well, in fact, he'll go through two tunnels on the way north. He'll go through the Victoria Park Tunnel and then Johnston's Hill Tunnel.
He makes a fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point, well made, sir.
Thank you.
Auckland is talking about traffic. All we need now is house prices, and we'll have the trifecta. Let's move on.
So, moving on. So there you go. We've got that bit out of the way now. We can actually talk about some rugby, maybe. So first off, then let's start off with something simple. Down in Christchurch, we've had some interesting play. I mean, this was where we had. I think it was last year we had racist comments and somebody tripping up a player, even from the sideline. And the latest one that Christchurch has managed to do is to have a player banned for strangling another player. So, quick, if you haven't read the article, quick little summary of it, and then we'll head over to our panel of judges to see what kind of ban we think would be appropriate. So, at the bottom of the ruck, a player gets hit in the private areas, then around the face. So he holds on to the other player and says, mate, there's no need for that. He then gets strangled while play goes on for another 4 phases. He starts seeing stars and nearly passes out. And then the referee notices that something's not quite right. The guy gets tackled off him and subsequently red carded. So there's been a red card. So obviously he gets sent off to the citing commissioner. So Pierre, do you want to take us away with what you think the appropriate ban would be?
Well, I guess I just want to cast our minds back to 2006 when Richie McCaw was so infuriating in a ruck that a Wellington prop tried to strangle him famously.
Really?
Yeah, it was Nemir Tialata.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but yes, it's regale us with the scenario.
Oh, well, back in the days of the Hurricanes being somewhat stronger in the forwards than they are right now, they carried Nemir Tialata around, and McCaw was being absolutely, as McCaw was, huge motor, pest at the breakdown, absolutely magnificent. Tialata tried to strangle him in front of the referee. It was pretty full on. I can't actually remember what sort of ban he got, but I guess the point I'm making is it's very unusual, but it's not without precedent.
Right. Yeah, interesting because I don't remember that scenario, but with this situation here, sort of obviously as we do and talking a bit before show, I was surprised that there's no charges being laid on the scenario.
Yes,
because
that's a fair point.
Yeah, it's absolutely astounding. To tell you the truth, there's enough witnesses.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I guess it's one of those interesting cases, though, where it's one of those things that it's so far outside what people are consent to on a rugby field, even though the actual risk of damage from strangling someone's pretty low. Smacking someone's potentially going to do a lot more damage, but actually we'd be far more incensed if someone was throttled playing the game. So I'm not surprised they gave him 4 years. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so he got 60 playing weeks. Which seems a bit strange, which was a strange way of doing it, which apparently equates to 4 years. Now, for touching a referee or pushing over a referee, then you get a life ban. So, I mean, to me, I would put this out to something. Basically, I think 4 years is pretty
light.
Is light. I would have gone for life for this one.
Yeah, no, as I said, I think this is assault. This is beyond sort of throwing a punch. I know punch is assault as well, but
Well,
I think it's a type of an assault that we sort of, depending on the degree of the punch, will sort of accept on a rugby field. Whereas trying to strangle somebody to death is not something that we will, is nothing other than assault, and probably needs to be, assault needs to be dealt with as such.
Yeah, I guess a couple of things jump out too. One is, that the guy he strangled wasn't a halfback, which would have been a mitigating circumstance because he was in the bottom of a ruck, and no halfback worth his salt is going to wind up at the bottom of the ruck. But secondly, I think it's really just a case of a guy losing control on the field, isn't it? And some people, when they lose control, lash out and strike. Some people lash out and try and actually choke. But look, I think 4 years is about right. I don't think it's life ban material. But I think separate to that, there's that piece that the officials are absolutely sacrosanct, and it's the difference between escalating physical contact with someone, which is what happened in this case, and contacting someone that you're just not allowed to.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, perhaps you're right.
No, he's not. It's assault.
How dare you, sir?
He's not right.
How dare you, sir?
And it needs to be taken to that next level.
Oh, okay. The assault piece now. The reason they've said that they're not taking it to police, and I'm wondering whether we should actually continue, because we are having some pretty serious
technical issues,
i.e., the show's not happening, which is a bit annoying because other people at the other end can't actually hear us, from what I can tell. And I'm wondering how we can.
Can you string together afterwards the bit that we've done?
No, this time, because
you're using Google Hangouts.
We're using Google Hangouts. We're using a different sort of technology than we normally use, unfortunately, folks, which is why we're potentially having this problem. If you can hear us and you're thinking, why are these guys just not just getting on with it, and why are they suddenly stopping? That all seems to be fine. I'm going to try turning off my camera. Turn the camera on and see if that helps. Looking at the, so we've got multiple sources of things going on here. So just quickly up the volume on this one. Yep, no one can hear anything. Okay, so what I think we're going to do actually is to stop and restart. So if you could tell everyone on the thing to stop and restart, and they should perhaps.
I don't know if anyone's seeing this.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
They can't see it. They can see the comments we're typing. So tell them to go to copy and paste that top thing and say that we will be join using that rather than joining the other one.
How long should I tell them to wait?
Give them 1 minute.
Say 2.
Okay. Well, let's wait for Ashwin to do his bit. So if I kill it before he does his bit, then it will disappear and we'll go, whoa, what's going on?
I'm going to go on this.
Oh, we're on. We're on.
Wait.
We think we're working.
Wait.
How live is it? If I do that, then I can see how long it takes before they see my hand wave. Okay, so we are live now. So thank you everybody for joining in. I will try and edit this and cut that bit off. So and we'll start again. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion. Cut the Jaguares, they're too good. Rugby chat 90, episode 90, and boy, 90. That's a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot. You've done a lot of shows.
I've done a lot of shows. And that's
does this count as 91? Because you stopped it and restarted it.
No, no, we didn't stop and restart in the end, so it's still at 90.
We've just eventually just gone live.
It just happened. It just flicked in.
You got a private show for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And now we have the real show. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to redo this now, and we've all already said this, so this is all new. This isn't new to us. If we don't look quite as shocked as we did the first time around, I'm sorry, but Strangling, Christchurch. So this is a couple of years ago.
Hang on,
sorry,
we got to go back about how bad the lighting is. We apologise for the lighting, and we are looking to fix that in a couple of minutes.
That's true, and introduce each other too.
Sorry for you guys, but you missed this, so I have to do this. I'll smile so that you can see me.
It's still funny the second time.
It's still funny the second time. That's the third time for us.
And kind of the fourth or fifth because you use that joke a lot.
Let's get on to strangling in Christchurch.
So Christchurch is an interesting place for club rugby because last year or the year before we had had a big uproar around racist comments being shouted from the crowds, which obviously is bad. We've had a player trip up. We had a fan trip up a player as he's running down the sideline, which also was bad. And now the latest one is we've got a player strangling another player. So just quickly, what happened for those of you that haven't read the news article? The player was at the bottom of a ruck, and the strangler hit this guy in the privates, then hit him in the face. At which point the guy grabbed him and said, "There's no need for that, mate." At which point the guy then decided to start strangling the guy on the ground. Play went on for another 4 phases. The guy getting strangled saw stars and nearly passed out. The referee then saw what happened. Somebody tackled the strangler off, and the strangler was red carded and sent to the Judiciary Committee. And I'll now hand you over to Pierre for his story of as to why he thinks, or if he thinks, 4 years is appropriate.
Well, I guess coming down, I'm of the opinion that 4 years sounds about right to me. I was casting my mind back to 2006 when Namir Tialata famously strangled Richie McCaw in a Hurricanes Crusaders games, which A, shows the longevity of Richie McCaw, and B, shows that props, while often highly educated and outstanding individuals, have been known to lose their rag from time to time. I don't think he got a 4-year ban, but he was showing quite how much of a pest at the breakdown McCaw can be, and how frustrating he was, like Sean Fitzpatrick for Auckland, with a nod to Ashwin, how frustrating he was to play against. So for me, the 4 years is probably about right. I think it sends a very clear message. It's just not tolerated, but it comes into that escalation piece that it's just not acceptable on a rugby field to do that, well, in anywhere in life, to do that sort of thing around strangling, unless it's a consensual activity between two consenting adults, and and instead to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
And there's a good reason why the camera in Pierre's household is pointing upwards away, so you can't see what's in the lower half as to what kind of things might go on in the Pierre household. But,
I don't live on the North Shore, and I don't have a dungeon. Honest.
But we do know that Andre lived on the North Shore. Anyway, sorry.
Yes.
Okay,
but he's South African.
I actually think that. I think that the ban should have been longer, or if not life. Agreeing with Simon in the odd chat room, actually. I think, and I'm surprised that there's been no further off-field action taken, because effectively, from my point of view, it's assault. As we've as we've alluded to before, we're repeating this for us. But the fact is that we with rugby, we do accept that we'll have a bit of the odd stoush on the field with a few punches thrown in that, and there'll be action taken around that. But and although that is obviously assault, this is taking assault to the next level, neck level, and I think it really should be before the courts.
Yeah, well, the two things. The reason it's not gone to the courts is was lack of what's the word I'm looking for?
Evidence.
Because
50 people around the sideline aren't enough.
Well, it's at the bottom of a rock. You don't necessarily see everything that's going on down there.
And then phases after that, you said, though. So that goes on a wee while. You
think so?
Yeah.
And then also, he also thought that, or the person who's strangled, decided that thought 4 years was an appropriate punishment, and the guy would learn from that. Now, it's for the people involved. Initially I thought that because if you push over a referee or a punch referee, that's a life ban. So initially I thought it was a bit low, but I like Pierre's comment in the previous conversation that you guys can get to hear, pointed out that there's a difference between an escalation of level of violence, because let's be honest, rugby is just violence within certain boundaries, and actually touching somebody who shouldn't be touched.
To be windy ball?
Exactly.
So just remember, was it Ben May, the Chiefs prop who pushed the referee out the way on the goal line? He copped a short ban, but not a life ban. So
yeah, because it was. There's been a couple of times when players have been banned for pushing the referee out the way. I think Quade Cooper might have actually got a couple of weeks type thing as well, because he pushed a ref out the way. Now, it wasn't a push because they were annoyed with the ref. It was just a push because they're trying to get the ref out the way so they can make sure that the attacking team didn't get past, so to speak, and they can make the tackle.
Yeah, there's a difference between encouraging a referee to get out, to not be blocking, and actually pushing a referee through being aggressive. So yes, now this has taken on a lot longer than we thought it was going to be honest. Just to get through this, so let's we'll shift
rattle on.
So Simon on Twitter has asked for our opinion about TMOs. Now, us down in the south, Simon, not at all. Gilbert Green, sorry. I don't know why I thought Simon. So Gilbert Green on Twitter has asked us. So down here, we've moved. We now, when the referee's talking to the TMO, what they'll basically say is the on-field decision is try, or the on-field decision is no try. Please look at this and tell me what you see. Now, in the Northern Hemisphere, and previously to that, it used to be try, no try, or can you give me a reason why this try should not be given? So do you like the way that it's changed, or do you think we should go back to the old?
No, definitely the new way's the way forward. The only way is up, as Yaz would say. The reality is we want more decisions to be made on field. We want correct decisions.
Yep.
But we want the on-field officials to be the officials making the calls. So for them to say, hey, look, in our opinion, it's no try. In our opinion, it's a try, unless you advise us otherwise. And the other thing that we've also seen is that, with replays, doesn't mean that it's cut and dry one way or the other necessarily. And therefore, we're happy to accept that, hey, look, it's a 50-50 call anyway. The on-field decision was X. So we're going to stick with that, which that's what we want to see.
100%. And look, to be honest, they've gone the way that the NFL has been for years, which is they make an on-field call, and it takes something clear and obvious to overturn it.
Yep.
And I think I don't think there's actually any difference. So I think basically all they've done is try, no try has now been replaced with my on-field decision is no try.
Yeah.
And the try, unless you give me any other reason not to, is my on-field decision is a try. So I think what's the big difference really here is the wording. So it's actually
the verbiage.
It's more understandable.
But we're actually frittering around the edges here. We're playing around the edges, and there are some fundamental issues with the way the TMOs are interfering with play, which we're not seeing.
Tell us about the fundamental issues about how the TMOs are.
I'd like to talk about the fundamental issues of how TMO is interfering with play. And look, you've seen this for some time, but you're seeing TMOs who don't know the basic laws of the game. You saw the Crusaders get absolutely robbed by a TMO a week and a half ago, and the point of if we've got match officials refereeing who drag referees back where they don't understand the difference between passes that travel forward over the ground with momentum and passes which travel forward over the ground. Oh, good Lord, no, Paul Bain. No. Referees who don't know the laws of the game, and we've got two French refs going to the World Cup.
And how to apply advantage.
I feel like this has turned into some filthy R-rated show by that. In fact, I'm going to stop talking for a bit. Ashwin, help.
No, look, I mean, it's interesting because, I think that there's been I'm on my own in terms of in a phone booth with my whānau, as one of our other guests that come on the show put it. But I think with that, the one that you're referring to with the Crusaders being robbed in South Africa, it's just like that's a tough one because that ball's actually travelled about 2.5 meters forward, and it's like, geez, I mean, I know about the whole momentum thing. I did physics in the 5th form, and it's just like. But when a ball's traveled 2.5 meters forward, I can't blame the referee or the TMO for sort of saying, "Hey, look, that looks forward to me. I'm going to call it
I
forward."
disagree. I thoroughly disagree, and the reason is because World Rugby's put out guidance on this, and the fundamental concept is that you can give the ball to someone who's behind you. That's what they say. So if you're running and someone's behind you, you can give them the ball, because the issue with the ball forward on the ground is you can be running directly behind someone at all times. They throw the ball up. You catch it behind them, the ball goes forward over the ground. Is that a forward pass? Absolutely not. And the problem is this isn't just some hick guy sitting on a radio show on a Tuesday night. This is someone whose job it is to know the laws of the game. And he's dragged them back and not even looked at the direction of the hands and said it's not okay. It's utterly
It's not okay.
unacceptable. It's not okay.
The Maximo also says, what about the absolute lack of TMO in some games? Well, clearly there's a cost to it. So I think there are some times when you can't afford to have a TMO and the TV coverage. What I think a problem is when you have a competition that has some games do have a TMO and some games don't, and that's a real problem.
Absolutely, you got to have a consistency across the competition. You either do or you don't through the competition, not game per game.
Yeah, so we have agreement there, even though that isn't necessarily
what we were talking about.
What happens? Neymar, thank you for joining us. But I don't speak French, so sorry I can't answer your comments.
Cut and paste it into Google Translate.
This is live. We're talking and stuff. We don't have time to do that kind of thing.
But I think, can we just talk about those referees again?
I think for Super Rugby, on the whole, I think the performance of the TMOs has been better this year. I don't think we've had that many controversies. We've had controversies around the game management in terms of the on-field refereeing, but I don't think we've had too much in terms of TMO making wrong calls. Let's say, the Crusaders one. Maybe. Well, I can't think of another one that.
So like this weekend where Richie McCaw took someone's head off, but that wasn't called a high tackle.
Well, that was the on-field decision, right? That wasn't the TMO. The referee clearly, the on-field referee clearly says, I feel that it started on the ball shoulder and then slipped up, and the player's going down. So I don't think there's an issue there. And you can actually hear the TMO go, "Oh." I can't remember the exact words he used, but he actually said, "Do you want to have a look at it again?" And the referee on the field goes, "No, I'm happy with it." So you can't blame the TMO for that.
Okay, that's all right. No, maybe not.
Yep. The other one that got raised by another guest that comes on Paul's shows is the difference between the Nanai Soturio one for the Chiefs and then Rico Ioane's one against Crusaders. And it's just like, again, I think that was the correct decisions were made in the sense that you can see in the Chiefs game, there's clear separation between the ball and the hand. Yeah. And in the Rico Ioane, there's no angle that showed any separation between the ball and the hand.
Separation doesn't really matter if they can get something on it before it hits the ground. I'm good with it.
Yeah, but then comes the control aspect, right?
No, there's control's not in the laws.
From the week before when we talk about control. So that means that control has been lost.
But one of the problems...
And you haven't gathered, because you've just got a pinky back on it before it hit the ground, and that isn't control.
It doesn't have to be control, though. The laws don't talk about control.
Well, that was my point from 2 weeks ago, but I got shouted down on that.
You're right. The laws don't talk about control. But
no,
the referees are now talking about control on the pitch. So there's been a directive to the referees about control. Now,
But there's nothing. But the key point here is there's nothing in the laws of the game about control. And so it's a perception, perception thing, if that's the right word, or it's a
directive.
Yeah, it's a judgment. No, it's a judgment call by the referee on the field, as opposed to the law and following a prescribed process.
Well, I think the referee's been told the process, and the referee's been told to take control into account.
It's not in the law.
I'm not. That's fine, but I'm not blaming the referee. I'm blaming.
No, we're not blaming the referee.
I'm blaming the guy who is setting the directive.
And to be fair, Ashwin, I mean, just it's not in the laws. There's a very clear statement, and it is fair. But there's this vast gulf between the laws as they're written and the laws as they are refereed, and the interpretations that people put in front of them. It's just chalk and cheese.
That's a very fair comment, because last Wednesday I went to a referee's course at Auckland Rugby.
I'll sit back this one.
And
Okay.
and you basically they did say, hey, look, at the end of the day, there's the laws of the game, but you can't apply the laws in every physical situation. And so then what you have to do is just be consistent across the game. And that's what you expect it to do. Is the fact is because you can't apply it's physically impossible to apply the law in certain situations.
Yeah, I would still like to see more consistency week to week, though. It's quite amazing the difference between referees about side entry, what constitutes weight, supporting your own body weight, where the gate is. Rugby's been described as that game that you front up and 20 minutes later you find out the game you're playing that week.
I absolutely agree with you on that. We've lost the sound there. I was just saying I totally agree with you because one of my bugbears is the fact is I don't believe that the defensive player, when he's trying to pull for the ball, should be able to put his hands on the ground at all. There should be no element of being able to put the hands on the ground at all.
Do you think you should be able to step over, pick up the ball, and come back?
Yeah, he can do that because he hasn't put his hands on the ground. Because the thing is that they're supposed to maintain their own body weight over the ball, which basically means they have to stay on their feet. Now, they try to say, he didn't use his hands on the ground to steady himself. That's bollocks. That's just not the case. The only reason the hands go down is to basically put your hands down to
we've heard this one from Arsham before, and we agree. Another one also is the attacking players don't have to come through the gates like the defensive players do, and there's a whole bunch of stuff really. A couple of things here that we've got on here is. I guess it's a tough job. I agree with you, Jack, but it's not just consistency from week to week, but it's consistency within a weekend. Maximo, I'd say the local officials are looking a tiny bit biased. Now, I don't think that any of the referees that have got to this level are biased intentionally. I think what we're seeing here is the impact of the local crowd. And basically the local director who decides what goes on that big screen. And so I think we're seeing homegrown advantage rather than biased referees per se. Even though I know the stats for one particular referee is pretty shocking.
Yeah. For Lions games, the guy I think is whistling up 8 penalties to 1 for the home side. I mean that is quite extraordinary. Quite extraordinary. 89% of the penalties going to the home team that's not explained by crowd. There are some fundamentally problematic issues with that. Multiple teams, multiple weekends.
So I don't think he's ready for this level of competition. Is probably the main thing there. Simon says, I really like to see robots referees. Yeah,
actually, be fantastic. Just on that, there's a few years ago.
Okay, last referee.
There's a few years ago there was an ad on TV in New Zealand, and it was like it might have been like a Rexona ad or something like that, and as the All Blacks playing something in the future, 2020, which just happens to be next year anyway. So you've got this sort of robot type All Blacks almost playing because they're so into the future, and it was a drone that was the referee.
Cool. So Mitre 10 Cup. Now we've been talking with Michael Pullman recently, and he was saying that he thinks that perhaps Sky Sports will go big on the Mitre 10 Cup this year because it happens at the same time as Rugby World Cup, and they don't have Rugby World Cup. So the coverage of the Mitre 10 Cup is becoming a bit more interesting this year. And there's been and they're not talking about this year, they're talking about the next time there is the next TV deal. But the Steve Lancaster, who is the New Zealand Rugby's head of participation and development, was on Radio Sport giving an interview. And I just want to go through some of the things that he said. So he's done it. They've carried out a survey, which I actually took part in online, to be honest. And he said it doesn't take a lot to figure out that crowds have declined at matches over recent years. Now, the word recent, I think here he needs to wind back in, because I think it's been over the last 30 years or 20 years. If we go back to the 80s and 90s, you used to fill Eden Park. You don't now.
Yeah. Different era, though, to be fair, and it was the premier competition outside the All Blacks. It's also not. How many All Blacks do you go and see playing Mitre 10 Cup these days?
Oh, none nowadays.
Yeah, so it's a third-tier competition, and it gets the crowds, unfortunately, to match that.
The other thing is that, as I've stated online during the week with the on Twitter, where this article's been posted as well, is the fact is that the New Zealand Rugby Football Union's just fallen over with fan engagement. They don't understand what fan engagement is. They think fan engagement is basically all around everybody loving the All Blacks and really not about loving rugby, and that's where they've fallen over. And now they're paying the consequences of their view.
So a couple of other things on here.
Go for
it. Was that he reckons that one reason is Sky's saturation coverage. I bet that every game is on TV. Now, one thing that we need to consider is the scheduling. I totally agree with him on this one, and that people would like to see afternoon games. I think Pierre and you and Arsene are on board. You'd like to see 2 o'clock kickoffs.
Yep, 2:30, 100%.
Yep.
Traditional time.
Not just 2:30, but then also the fact is that, like, so back in the day when you got a decent crowd at Eden Park, you'd have under 19s, you'd have Colts, and then you'd have the B team, and then you had the main game.
It's a day out. The Warriors do it.
Yep.
Warriors do it. They have a 7:30 kickoff, and they start their rugby league at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they just run game after game. Because as Asher and I used to say when we were sitting up in the stands, there's nothing that prepares you for a good game of rugby quite like a good game of rugby.
Yeah, well, perhaps you should warm me up on the back pitch rather than actually on the main pitch, so we don't have like 45 minutes between games.
But fundamentally, and what that comes down to is who's the priority? Is it the fans, or is it, I don't know, it's, the ability to give the rugby teams that space? They can warm up on the back pitch. There's plenty of space out there.
The interesting thing is that if you notice, they've actually cut down their warm-up time on the field anyway. Obviously, we only talk at Eden Park in terms of this side of things because we're there to see it. But the teams are coming on at about 7 o'clock. So you got kickoff at 7:30. The teams are coming on at 7 o'clock. Now, if you could play that curtain raiser up to 7 o'clock. And basically, the other guys are milling around on the side watching it. The main game guys are watching it on the sideline anyway. They come out early. They've got their cans on their ears, and they're standing there watching, going doosh, doof, doof, doof. And then basically the game finishes and they get into their drills. They only usually do a warm-up for about 20, 25 minutes. Then they're into the sheds, get their shirts on, they're back out to play the game.
You should DJ, Ashwin.
Doof, doof, doof.
You mean beatbox? Wow, yes. He's like that girl. He's at Police Academy.
But yeah, look, I mean, bring back the curtain raiser. I'm down with that.
Yep.
100%. Bring back afternoon kickoffs.
So one thing I mentioned again on Twitter during the week is the fact is that NRL does kickoffs at the same time. They'll have 2 games kicking off at the same time or half an hour apart, slightly, so effectively the same time. So there's nothing stopping you might attend having 2 games kicking off at the same time. Sky's got truckload of channels. It's not like there's one OSB truck that goes to each game. The truck's already at the side. It's just the fact it's waiting for a kickoff 3 hours later. So those games can kick off at the same time. They can be on different Sky Sport channels, and you watch what you want to watch. And then the people at the ground are getting a 2:30 kickoff.
So as we've just jumped into replying to the comment he made where he said, equally, if every game is not broadcast live, there might be more incentive for people to get along and watch it themselves. And Andre in the live chats also said local games should be blacked out completely. If you don't go, you don't watch your team
live.
Easy for me to say, though, as I like going to live games. Well, no, I think getting people to live games is a good thing, and I think that really they do need to do it. I think there's a lot more they could do around that. But my point of why I think they should televise all games live is because if New Zealand's a big place, even if people say that's a small place, no, it's a big place with nobody in it.
Yeah.
And travelling to away games, apart from North Harbour, Auckland, and counties, maybe at a stretch Waikato, every other away game, every other team that's playing an away game, you can't get to away games. It's just too far. So those 4 between them that can travel to away games. But for the away fans, they should be allowed to watch the games. And there's no way with satellite that you can regionalise it and say, oh, if you're in Christchurch, you can't watch a Canterbury game. Really.
Yeah. Look, I mean, just because Paul keeps reminding us that we do have international audience, to give our international audience an idea, New Zealand has the same landmass as the UK. with about 4.5 million people in the space of the landmass of UK.
So Simon Hughes, Simon Hughes says probably 2:00 games is international broadcasts. In all honesty, international people might watch Super Rugby, but they're not going to be watching the audience. The international audience for Mitre 10 Cup is.
Yeah, I'd be wondering. I mean, it'd be interesting. We don't really hear it, do we? It's like, we hear about, they do 7:30 kickoffs because international audience. Well, it's like, well, how many people internationally are watching Mitre 10 Cup? And the reality is we actually still have 2:30 kickoffs. Yep. It's not like we don't have 2:30 kickoffs. So those games aren't being watched internationally because it's 2:30 in the morning in Europe. So it'd be interesting to actually know how many, what the audience is like internationally.
Yeah, well, the money's not there for Mitre 10 Cup. It's coverage for foreign, but it's more the midweek stuff that I think becomes problematic. When you're playing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday night games, no one goes. That's the real problem. Midweek stuff is really, really hard. Maybe there's an argument for putting the good games on. You look at your slots. Friday night, Saturday afternoon early, Saturday afternoon late, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon. That's 5 games a week. Plenty of rugby on to pay there, maybe even 2 games on a Sunday afternoon. There's 6 out of the 7 games. You have one double up, but 4 of those games are going to be played at family friendly times, 2:30 or 4:30 kickoffs.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm a rugby, but obviously I'm a rugby tragic. I'm on the show. And I'll watch the Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, well, obviously Friday night, but Wednesday and Thursday night games. And I'll go to a game at Eden Park Wednesday, but not many, if any, will do that.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I love I'm a bit upset this year that they're not doing Wednesday night games. So it's just Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and then Sunday games this year. There's no Storm Week this year. But I am the exception to the rule. I live in Hamilton, and from there I can drive to and get home in an evening to obviously Waikato. I can walk there. I can get to Bay of Plenty, Counties, Auckland, and North Harbour. Now, but that's me doing a 2-hour drive and a 2-hour drive back. Now, I understand I'm the exception, not the rule. You shouldn't really cater for me, but for most people, I can understand that the midweek games, especially when it's raining and wet.
Well, but that's the argument against night rugby too. I mean, it's a winter sport, but the quality of rugby at night is not as good as the quality of rugby during the day.
I think we got lucky last season. Hey, I mean, last season we actually had.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look at what happened in Christchurch over the weekend. Not nice conditions to play rugby in. You play that on a Saturday afternoon in Christchurch, and it's absolutely glorious.
You're right. And actually, that on a totally separate note, let's go down this rabbit hole. Why do Super Rugby sides train at 11 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the morning when they're going to be playing at 7 o'clock at night?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't they train the conditions that they're going to be playing in?
And we obviously had. I think we had that conversation. We had that conversation a few days ago, was it? And this is like what it really comes down to is the fact that
we need to stop pretending we don't actually talk apart from on TV. Okay, otherwise people aren't.
we formulate ideas and concepts and we whiteboard things for content for our show. That's the professionalism we bring.
I've almost finished my corporate bullshit bingo, mate. Keep going with your whiteboarding.
We try not to boil the ocean too often with our blue sky thinking.
Yeah, but
you have to think outside the bubble.
A lot of professionalism missing in rugby because it's just illogical, Jim, that you don't train at night when that's when most of your games are. You should be training at 7:30 at night, so that your body is adjusting to playing and being active during that time.
Pierre?
I'm not opposed to the idea of training at night, but I think it's I mean, these guys are professionals, and I think they're probably training more than once a day. They're just in a continuous state of, they're elite athletes.
They are, but I think they finish by like 3-4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, yeah, 4 o'clock. They'll have 2 sessions. They'll have a morning session and an afternoon session. But what they should be doing is maybe having a morning session and an evening session.
But
so they can play Xbox in between.
Yeah, critical life skills there.
Dearie me. Angel de Jesus sounds like Arshwin needs to join us coaching staff. Well, yes, maybe not.
He's just going to spend his time screaming, "Run straight" at the backs. Which, to be fair, is better coaching than some people get. So you get what you get.
Hey, well, just say, not quite a professional environment, but I am a rugby coach.
I'm not sure you can call your under 8s. Is it under 8s?
It's a rugby team.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't call it? It's a rugby team. In fact, you're teaching them how to play the game as well.
Tackle technique, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
This year, first year of tackling as well. So so there's going to be a few broken bones this year for Marshall's team. Get that. You're not just put your body on the line. Don't worry don't worry where your head goes. Just get your head in the way.
No, back straight, chin up, shoulders back, chest out.
There we go.
Strong position.
Here's life advice for everyone on this show. Thanks for coming.
So to me, I think when he's suggesting the not showing games on TV is going to increase people going to the games, I think he's totally missed the plot on why people aren't going to games. It's the lack of tribalism. It's the lack of engagement. And it's the concentration, as you say, on the All Blacks and basically the ignoring of the Mitre 10 Cup and
tick,
which is what the problem is. And I think they're just going to reduce the crowds even more if they take it off TV.
Absolutely.
So I was just going to share a little story. A few years ago, probably 3 or 4, we were staying downtown in the Sky City at the time of a Blues game, and they were major sponsors at that point. So we went to go and find a bar inside the Sky City complex that was showing the Blues, and you just couldn't. They're major sponsors. They're not making a fuss. No one in the complex even knows it's on. It's just this whole bizarre thing where people don't seem that engaged in actually getting the most out of the rugby or connecting with rugby fans. It does my head.
But that's the bizarre thing is this is like, I mean, and I suppose, Paul can basically comment on he's found this a bit as well. But what we find in rugby is this, that the sponsors just don't seem to be taking advantage of the relationship in the association at all.
They're not maximizing
it. Sorry, they're just not leveraging that association at all. 100%.
But also, if you want to go and support the Blues, so if you come to town and you go, I'm going to be a Blues supporter or an Auckland Rugby supporter, what do? You maybe go and buy a season pass, but where do you go and find like-minded people to watch games with when they're not in town?
No. In Ashwin's Lounge.
Yeah, in Ashwin's Lounge. Great, we'll put that up on Twitter. But I'm cutting codes twice now tonight, so I'm probably going to get excommunicated for it. But it's something that I think League does better than us. Is they have a Leagues club. You can join it. You go down. You feel part of the tribe. There's the hardcore supporters there. Like they do it better than we do, and we've got to really think that through as a code. I think in what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, so you're talking about leveraging. So this is exactly what I mean. I've been trying to set up watch parties in Hamilton for Chiefs fans to go watch games. And this Saturday, I'll be at the Zone Sports Bar with Graham Minty Meads, who is the Waikato caller for Sports Rugby or commentator. We will be at the Zone Sports Bar watching the Chiefs versus Crusaders as they play in Fiji. Now,
nice segue, by the way.
Thank you. Now, the Zone Sports Bar, which is part
would that be Sky City Hamilton by any chance? Zone Sports Bar.
That would be Sky City Hamilton. That would be very true. Who are one of the
primary
sponsors of the Chiefs? Now, I talked to Sky City and say, hey, can we talk to the Chiefs about getting some players getting the players who aren't at these away games along to do a pre-match interview? And he said, we'll get charged for that. The Chiefs won't. They won't provide players. You're like, seriously? One of your sponsors says, I'm going to put an event on for your fans to get together and watch an away game. Can we borrow a player? And the answer is, show us the money. Pardon? This whole, it's about fan engagement. It's about improving. And that's the Chiefs just not getting it and not understanding how you create that tribalism, how you get them all together for away games. Then they'll get together for home games as well.
To be fair, I think it's an example, but it's not just the Chiefs. I think it's endemic
modern
rugby.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just an example. Exactly. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah,
or not doing it.
So I think the sponsors would like to probably leverage it more. They're just not allowed the players, or they get their set number of hours, which they use, and then after that, that's it. Sorry, good luck. They have to pay extra. Which, if you turned around to them and said, actually, yeah, we'll give you players, and hey, look, you're filling a bar and making X hundred, X $1,000 extra per season because of this. Now, you know what, your sponsorship's going to go up by another X hundred. So in the long run, they could make more money out of it, but they only think about what's the dollar.
Well, the thing is that sponsor isn't going to have an issue with doing it because it's actually working for them as well. You know, it's going to work for them because Pierre keeps mentioning that other oval ball code, and it's just like when you look at the way that they leverage.
Can I interject and say professionalism? The professionalism.
Obviously they've been professional for a longer time, but this is like Wendy's will have basically the team members doing the ad, and this is like, and the fans are going, "Ooh, that player's eating a Baconator. I'm going to go grab one." That's the way it works.
Yeah, but in whereas in Super Rugby they're like, I don't want to be seen with KFC because it's bad. It's bad eating habits. Now I get it, and that's why your KFC ads. None of the players ever shown actually eating and that's why they play around doing funny primary school or kindergarten cutting up KFC buckets to produce things.
Yeah, but so the Fijian Sevens team getting a bellboy trolley full of KFC rolling into the hotel is not a good look.
But if you've seen the Pacific Warriors movie or documentary, in that they said, the players themselves admit one of the hardest things for the coaches to do was to stop us from eating fried chicken.
Coach Ashwin.
This year's end of year party might be at McDonald's.
Yeah. So look, I think opportunities is the answer, and also that long-term engagement too. I mean, how do you actually reward the long-term season ticket holders? I mean, you look at Ashwin and his whānau and the friends he's taking down there. I wouldn't be a season ticket holder at the Blues for 12 years if Ashwin isn't there. That's the reality of it. He's got me into it and got me hooked on it. So there's this whole other piece that sits in there around how do you actually reward the people who are taking people along to your games. And I think there's a lot of people who played rugby, supported rugby, but can't be bothered going to see rugby anymore. So there's people there.
For doing our bit to try and get people down there, myself, Pierre, and Ashwin will all be in the West Stand on Friday night for the Blues versus the Bulls. It's general admittance, so you can come and sit with us and say hello, buy us a beer or two. Actually, those two will be driving. I'll be getting a lift, so I can actually
drink.
Buy Paul a beer or two.
Yeah, buy me a beer or two. Just buy them the Coke. So yeah, come and join. If you're in Auckland, come down to the to Eden Park. We'll be in the West Stand, section 210. Is it
331 or 3 something like that? It's the back of the West Stand though.
Anyway,
behind the goalpost.
Straight behind the goalpost in the West Stand. Come and join us. Say hello. Guess what? I'll be wearing a bucket hat.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to recognise us. So come and join us.
The banter is usually of good quality, I have to say, although it may not be family rated. So contemplate your kids learning some new language or some new offensive things to say when they get down there.
Dearie me.
And Andre's just told us it's 332 because he can count and we can't.
Thank you, Andre.
It's a health and safety issue.
Hopefully you'll join us. Next up then, now we've sorted out how crowds and fan participation for New Zealand rugby at least. Phil Kearns, that esteemed quality rugby commentator, pundit, basically all-round good guy and intelligent man, says they're the national team. They shouldn't even be in the comp. It's a provincial competition. Have a provincial team in it. That's what it's about. It's not about having a national teams in it. Let's get rid of the Jaguares because, hey, we've been losing to them. Idiot or sound comment?
Idiot or idiot savant? That's the case of, look, I mean, anybody who watches a Fox commentary with Kearnsy on it, just knows what a shocking commentary team they are. I mean, well, when we say shocking commentary, well, they are and they aren't, because they're absolutely living up to their key fan base, which is the home crowd, hometown viewer, so to speak. So, look, we know what his commentary skills are like. We know how his commentary on the game overall is like. Is it a case of he just basically throws it out there to rack up like a lot of newspaper reporters do these days, or is he actually an idiot?
Don't feed the troll.
Don't feed the troll. Yeah, like Andre's saying online in the chat room. No, got the good.
Okay,
yeah.
so I
Good
guess,
call, Andre. Don't feed the troll.
a couple of things. Yeah, I think. Well, Austria and I disagree here in our pre-game chat or pre-show chat. We disagreed. I think that basically he is doing it deliberately just to cause outrage, and Austria thinks he's just thick.
It is possible. It is possible that it's both.
It could be both. Yes, I think we do. The next one is that actually when the Jaguares and the Sunwolves came in, Sanzar said you have to be able to get your international players to play in it, otherwise they won't be competitive. So they were told to have their national team as the team when they joined. So this idea that anyone's been hoodwinked or being
full Coons has, but
is clearly an absolute farce and a joke. They've not been hoodwinked. They've done exactly what they said they were going to do when they started. Now, Glenn Eller has got some much more relevant, I think, points to make about this. He says, in Super Rugby, the Jaguares play in the South African Conference. Their nearest neighbour is from Buenos Aires is Johannesburg, which is 8,000 kilometres away. Now, I understand that Super Rugby doesn't do local derbies very well, on the whole.
Full stop.
Well, no, the Lions and the Bulls are like 50 kilometres apart. They're pretty close. But that's the exception, not the rule. The second closest is the Waratahs and Brumbies, and the third closest, I believe, is the Blues and the Chiefs. And they're about the only three derbies where you can actually where away fans.
A derby is a derby.
Yeah, a derby's a derby. Let's be honest.
Well, a derby is as close as it's going to get to be called a derby, because effectively the only derbies are actually a Mitre 10 Cup, ironically, real ones.
Ooh.
Boom.
Boom. I know. I think, to be fair, I think the Lions and the Bulls is a proper derby.
Well, that's 50, because that's 50 k's away. That's fair enough,
Transvaal versus Northern Transvaal. Yeah. If we're going to use proper names.
Yeah.
That's Andre, old school right there. Old school.
Yeah. Going old retro. Andre, please correct me if I've got that wrong. So the travel burden, I agree, is ridiculous on them. Now, I'm coming to the theory that all domestic competitions should be time zone specific. So I don't think South Africa should be part of Super Rugby. I think it should be Australia, New Zealand, the Pacific Islands, and Japan. And that South Africa should do something different and go probably into the Pro 14. Keep the Rugby Championship. Now, South America, next year in 2020, will be kicking off their own professional rugby club competition. Now, it's going to be below Mitre 10 Cup level, to be fair. We've got Major League Rugby in the USA. So I think crossover between that competition and the Major League Rugby is going to happen. And probably in 5 to 10 years, we can get rid of the Jaguares and they can do that. But I understand why there is no competition for the Jaguares.
Yeah, and I guess, look, just a couple of things on that. First of all, Super Rugby, I think Andre said Super Rugby's been good for the Jaguares. It has. They've actually developed as they've come through that competition. I'm not sure that's fed into the Argentinian national side, who seem to have gone backwards by comparison compared to where they were, say, 4 to 8 years ago. But that Jaguares side has really built, and it's something that the Six Nations could take a real look at with the way that they've treated some of the development sides of some of those pieces. Secondly, though, I think you're looking very much at if there's any side that didn't belong in Super Rugby, it's more likely to be Japan, and that's because they're in the Northern Hemisphere. So their seasons are all wrong. When the year of the Blues, the tragic year, the year which we will not speak of, the year of horror, where the Blues went up and lost to the Sunwolves, they were playing in 40-degree heat. 40-degree heat.
Well, more than 40.
But before that, they'd spent the week in Fiji on the beach.
Oh yeah,
turned up the day before. And they weren't taking that game seriously.
Would you?
No, they'd already. I mean, the season was over for them. It was a total farce for a game.
2007 was the same. Where All Blacks went and spent a bit of time in the south of France, had a nice relax. Just what you need to get yourself ready for a critical knockout game against the French. Hypothetically, I can't believe I brought that up.
The fact that you're blaming that on the French Riviera, I just find it so amusing. Harry, go on.
Well, no, but you just made the point. They spent the week in Fiji. They weren't taking the game seriously. The build up to the game, the build up to a game is not to go and spend some time on a beach, which is what happened. But look, aside from that, I think that the point being that trying to play rugby in 40-degree heat is bloody hard work. And I would sooner have the Jaguares in the competition than the Sunwolves. That said, from a rugby business point of view, the Sunwolves or Japan has still got this record for the largest single rugby audience in country. Japan for the match after the Japan-South Africa game. So they are, if you want to talk about money and growth and building a competition and a market, Japan's absolutely ripe for it. It's becoming a really credible destination for players.
It is. Yep. So something like that I spotted just before we came live, just before the show today, was that Pocock has said that he is not renewing with the Brumbies next year. And will be taking up his third season with Panasonic in Japan. And then, after that, we'll see where he goes. He's had a flexible 3-year deal, which is basically 3 years of playing over 4 or 5 years. I think it's going to be in the end. So it's going to be, yeah. So we've seen Kieran Reid is going up there.
Sorry. And the critical point is he's injured, and we've seen him play his last game of Super Rugby. He's done.
Yep.
Which is a pity. And may not be there for the World Cup with his calf injury.
Oh, I think he'll be there.
Yeah, but
they'll take him with one leg missing.
He may be there. He may not be.
They'll take him with one leg missing.
A bit like Richie McCaw in 2015.
Yeah.
2011 was when he had a broken foot.
11.
Sorry, 11 with a
11.
Foot. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry. Wrong year.
Can win a thing with a broken foot, but not with a beach.
There we go. Now, purely because Pierre actually went to the long, arduous and wonderful preparation for this show by actually watching some rugby last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably talk about some rugby from last weekend now that we've only got 2 minutes left. Any Mickey Mouse moments that you saw?
Well, obviously, I think the standout moment from the weekend was Nonu passing to the fullback that's not there.
That's my one.
I know. I pinched it.
Yes, that's the note.
I pinched his Mickey Mouse moment. No, but
oh, look! Can I weigh in first?
He's done a little fake.
Go, Pierre.
Go, Pierre.
No. I was going to say, look, if we're picking, it has to be Mickey Mouse or moment of the weekend.
Oh, hey.
Oh, look, if you want to,
if it's Mickey. It's going to be the same moment depending on your perspective. Mickey Mouse is the Reds having that much possession and not being able to score a try.
Then, the Crusaders, fairly similar though. They dominated that first half against the Blues, but didn't put the game out of sight, which they should have done.
That's true, but they also won. That's the other difference. That's why it's not their Mickey Mouse moment.
Well, that's true. They did.
Well, I'll be honest, man. This is like, geez, tell me that those the defensive line wasn't up in front of the last feet massively, by the way, too. But anyway.
No, look, we're not going back to referees again. We spent 20 minutes talking about refereeing. I'm not about to start discussing offside. Okay, no. Deary me, I'm putting my foot down. So yes, so there you go. That's your any other moments from the weekend or
Oh, look, from the other side of the ledger, I was so impressed with the Chiefs' defence and their grit and resilience. Colin Cooper's got to take a lot of heart from that team that he has, that team culture he's got going there, because they're playing with no one, and they're playing. And it pains me to say it as a Blues fan, but they're playing some magnificently gritty rugby at the moment. Good for them.
And yet
they're playing with no one is a good way to put it. They've got no locks left. They're playing with back rowers in the second row. And they still the scrum manages to hold up.
I think they've lost 6 or 8 locks this season to injury.
Yeah.
Now, and yet I still expect Colin Cooper to get sacked at the end of the season.
Do you?
Yeah. The noise, all the noise I'm hearing is that he's taking serious flack. He's not. There's the noise in Hamilton.
The drum beats.
The drum beats are that I reckon he's going to get sacked.
Mm. Well, watch the space.
Remember,
you heard it here. You heard it here first.
Tough to inherit from Dave Rennie and to lose guys like Cruden overseas, but yeah, and Damien McKenzie to injury. You put Damien McKenzie and Brody Vitalik in that, and Sam Cane, to fit Sam Cane into that outfit, different side.
Totally. They've been missing 13, 14 players this season from most games. So yeah, I think it's totally harsh. I really think he should be given another crack.
Just like the Blues last year.
Well, the Blues, I think, were missing 11 players from last weekend, 11 or 12 last weekend.
No, last year. Sorry, last year.
Yeah. But they're also missing a lot of players when you do that. Andre, who will replace him, Paul? I haven't got a clue as to who will replace him.
Ashwin! We've just found that out, Paul.
Oh, yes, absolutely. He might need to take that jersey off. But
I'll wear some training.
I reckon if he goes down there and just goes, run straight, he'll go fine.
Run straight. Take it up the guts. 10-man rugby.
And then spend your time on the sideline screaming side entry at the ref. You'll be right as, mate. Right as.
Yeah. Incorrect entry.
Sorry, I apologise. Incorrect entry.
Incorrect entry.
You should repeat that a few times on Friday night, just so I can learn it, please.
Andre, don't the Chiefs always have an entire team out injured every season in recent years? Yes, they do. So there's got to be some question marks around the strength and conditioning there.
Do the squads actually have to be made bigger? Do they need to make it a wider squad?
There just isn't the number of players and the quality in New Zealand to do that.
Well, it doesn't. You said there isn't the number of players and quality in New Zealand to do that. Well, they're going through the players anyway.
Well, no, because at the moment they can steal it. Basically, you have a shared pool of players that you can sort of nick from, rather than whereas at the moment, if you said it right, everyone has a 50-man squad, or whatever, then
roster.
Then it's much better off having that 28, 30-man roster plus another 20 players shared around all of them and they just pick out the lock when they need it.
I'd like to see bigger rosters.
Nah, there's not the players and there's not the money.
What we need is a feeder competition. If only we could play it, maybe throw the provinces in, put 14 teams in, play it after Super Rugby, fill it full of semi-pro players. Yeah, could be a good idea.
Sponsor the pro competition.
Absolutely.
Giants.
Be almost as good as an airline.
They oh dear me. So let's look forward to this weekend then. Which quick run through is the games. We've got the Blues versus the Bulls on Friday night, followed by the Rebels versus the Waratahs. Early Saturday game, obviously these are all New Zealand times. Here we have Sunwolves versus the Brumbies, Chiefs versus the Crusaders, Reds versus the Jaguares, and then overnight in Sharks versus the Hurricanes and Lions versus the Stormers. So, Pierre, let's throw it over to you. Which games are you looking forward to, or which game?
So, given the weekend I'm likely to have, I suspect it's going to be the Blues game on Friday night. Taking my boy along, it's going to be a very entertaining evening. Looking forward to it.
We'll teach him some choice new words, man.
Father of the year here.
Andre reckons the Bulls are going to win. It's their win week. You're right. They'll be going win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. So that is how they're due.
Thanks, Andre.
But they can't travel, and it isn't in South Africa. Andre reckons Sharks, Canes, but yes, you're a Sharks supporter, so no wonder that was your game of the week. What's Andre? No, not Andre.
No, Andre's on the chat room. Ashwin's sitting next to the couch on you. Obviously I'll be there at the Blues Bulls game at Eden Park. Interesting to see how the Chiefs Crusaders game goes over there in Fiji. Hopefully there's no tropical cyclone or anything going through, so it's dry rugby. It's interesting. I sort of think the last 4 weeks, and it has been about 4 weeks, you look at the Crusaders, the Bulls game apart, they haven't performed well.
True.
So that's 3 games out of 4. They haven't performed well. Pierre's just been going on about how gritty the Chiefs are. So have they got much more grit left in them? or will they have to borrow some sandpaper from the Aussie cricketers? But see how much grit they've got left in them against the Crusaders, because I think there's an opportunity there. I think there is, there's a bit of weakness in the front row with the Crusaders. So I think there's a bit of an opportunity there. And then actually that game that Andres mentioned, the Sharks Canes, because for the whole season we've gone on about the Canes having some issues in the tight five and in the forward pack, and yet they've been able to squeeze out wins. The Jaguares found them, finally proved us right by saying they don't have a forward pack. Can other teams now take advantage of that?
Yeah, it's going to be I think actually Rebels Tars is going to be quite an interesting one, because Rebels have to win this one, otherwise they're going to lose out to the Brumbies. And the Tars, they really are looking. They do need a big performance. I will do live post-match reaction from for the Blues versus the Bulls from Eden Park, or probably walking back to the car with Pierre. So he'll be. You might be able to see him as part of discussing that game.
So buy him 2 or 3 beers. It'll be even more entertaining.
After a few beers will be fantastic. So do check out YouTube /C/DrivingMaul/live for that one. I won't have a link to put up for that. And then, as I say, I will be in the Zone Sports Bar for the Chiefs versus Crusaders. So we'll be live from there on YouTube. And there'll be a preview live from there on Twitter. So check out there as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thank you very much, Pierre. Great to have you on again.
Great to be back.
Yeah. Don't make it so long time between drinks.
He's back.
Yeah.
Austin, a pleasure as always, and thank you for the comfy couch and the Milo earlier. So cheers, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all of that kind of stuff, and to support the channel so that I can actually afford my curry at Eden Park on Friday nights. Can you please go to patreon.com/DrivingMaul and support me for as little as $1 a month? That'd be much appreciated. Link in the comments down below. Good night.
Brilliant.